Hello everyone, and welcome back to Hidden Korea, where the lights dim and the real stories begin. Today, we bring you one of the most breathtaking revelations in Asian entertainment history. Zhao Lusi and Wu Lei's secret Beijing wedding, a real-life fairy tale that left the world in awe. It wasn't announced with flashing cameras or red carpets. There were no reporters, no leaks, just whispers. Until the truth finally emerged. Two of China's most beloved stars, bound together in a ceremony so stunning, so intimate, that it blurred the line between fantasy and reality. How did they manage to hide something of this magnitude in plain sight? What secrets were buried beneath the glittering lights of their Beijing celebration? And why did this wedding, more than any drama or movie, leave millions speechless? Stay with us as we uncover every hidden detail, emotional moment, and every truth that turned fiction into reality. Let's dive in, right now, on Hidden Korea. The rumor began with a single photograph, a grainy image of a white limousine, gliding through a snow-dusted Beijing street under cover of night. There were no fans, no reporters, no flashing lights. Only the faint outline of two silhouettes in the backseat, a man and a woman, their hands interlocked, faces turned away. Within hours, that image ignited the internet. Is it them? The headlines asked. Did Zhao Lusi and Wu Lei just get married in secret? At first, no one believed it. How could two of China's most famous young stars, adored by millions, constantly followed, have orchestrated an entire wedding without a single leak? It sounded impossible. But as the day unfolded, truth began to pierce through the noise, and by sunset, every major outlet across Asia was running the same headline. Zhao Lusi and Wu Lei confirm private marriage in Beijing. The world froze. For years, fans had speculated about the chemistry between the two, from their drama sets to award show appearances. Their connection was undeniable. Every glance, every subtle smile sparked online chaos. Yet both remained silent, guarding their personal lives behind the polished facade of professionalism. But the truth, as it turned out, had been unfolding quietly behind closed doors for years. According to sources close to Hidden Korea, the romance began in 2021. The filming of Love Like the Galaxy, long nights, shared rehearsals, and the fragile intimacy that grows between co-stars who must trust each other completely. Somewhere in that space between fiction and reality, something real began to bloom. One assistant director recalled, "There was a moment during filming when the director yelled cut. But they didn't stop looking at each other. The entire set went silent. It wasn't acting anymore." Still, both knew the stakes. Their agencies were fiercely protective. Dating rumors could destroy contracts, derail reputations, alienate fans. And so, what began as affection became a carefully guarded secret, a bond hidden beneath professionalism and denial. But secrecy, like love, has a life of its own. By 2022, quiet gestures started to slip through: identical bracelets, matching vacation photos taken days apart, subtle exchanges during interviews that only longtime fans could decode. Their chemistry became an open secret, whispered about but never confirmed. Until, one day, it was too big to contain. Hidden Korea learned that in December 2023, Wu Lei proposed during a quiet winter evening at the Temple of Heaven, not with a grand spectacle, but with a handwritten letter and a single white rose. The letter, reportedly sealed with his initials, ended with 7 words: "Let's make this real, forever, not pretend." She said yes. The months that followed were a masterclass in secrecy. The wedding plans began under the radar. Every vendor, designer, and planner signed confidentiality contracts. The guest list was microscopic: family, a few lifelong friends, and a trusted handful of colleagues who had walked through the years of rumor and silence with him. The ceremony itself took place in early February 2024. Inside a private villa in Beijing's historic Shunai district, surrounded by white roses and soft candlelight. The couple exchanged vows under a glass dome decorated with falling petals and fairy lights. The air was still, thick with disbelief and emotion. The musician who performed that night later described the moment. "When they looked at each other, it was like the rest of us disappeared. It wasn't celebrity love, it was something sacred." But the wedding wasn't meant to be a spectacle. There were no photographers allowed, no PR announcements. Every moment was captured only on disposable film cameras, a deliberate choice by Zhao Lusi, who reportedly said, I don't want perfect photos. I want real ones. Still, secrets never stay buried forever. One of the guests, a relative's friend, leaked a single image from the ceremony: Zhao Lusi, barefoot, laughing under a canopy of lights, dress shimmering like starlight. Wu Lei, standing beside her in a black suit, eyes locked on hers. The image spread across social media in seconds. The public's reaction was instant and explosive. Celebrated the news with joy, calling it the most beautiful love story in Chinese entertainment history. Others accused them of betrayal, of hiding something fans had a right to know. Hashtags like Zhao Lusi wedding and Wu Lei marriage skyrocketed to the top of global trends within hours. By morning, both agencies had confirmed the truth. Joint statement read simply: "We began as partners on screen. And now we continue as partners in life. We ask for understanding, not attention." It was elegant, quiet, but it did nothing to calm the chaos. Paparazzi swarmed Beijing hotels, camped near filming locations. Reporters combed through years of footage, searching for clues they might have missed. And through it all, Zhao Lusi and Wu Lei remained silent, vanishing once more into the shadows of their own story. Behind the glamour and headlines, however, there was another truth, one far more intimate and unexpected, hidden beneath the fairy tale's glittering surface. As Hidden Korea soon discovered, not everything about that wedding went according to plan. Something happened that night, something no one outside their circle has spoken about, until now. Wedding that was supposed to be the happiest night of their lives didn't end the way anyone expected. While the world celebrated the leaked images, the smiles, the starlight, the perfect ending, something unfolded behind those closed doors that would forever alter the course of Zhao Lusi and Wu Lei's fairy tale. According to insiders close to Hidden Korea, the tension began just hours after the ceremony. Understanding between the couple's families, by an unexpected guest and a misplaced piece of paperwork, cast a shadow over the festivities. License that was meant to be filed that night, the final legal document binding them as husband and wife, went missing. At first, no one panicked. It was assumed to be a clerical error, a small delay. But as the hours passed and the villa's laughter faded, staff members whispered in confusion. By dawn, the atmosphere had changed entirely. Guests were gone. The music was silent. Zhao Lusi and Wu Lei, the picture-perfect couple, had locked themselves inside one of the side rooms. A friend later revealed that the argument wasn't about the missing document, it was about fear. They had spent years hiding, lying, pretending. The truth was finally out. They didn't know how to live in it. Zhao Lusi, known for her confidence and charm, reportedly broke down in tears that morning, saying, "What if we can't go back to being ordinary?" Lei's response was quiet but firm: "We were never ordinary. But we can choose to be real." The words lingered like a promise, or a challenge. Following these, the fairy tale crumbled into chaos. Photos of the ceremony flooded the internet, including private images that had never been meant to see daylight. The anonymous leak became a scandal overnight. Media began to question everything, from the authenticity of the marriage license to the timeline of their relationship. Fans turned divided once more. Some defended them fiercely, arguing that love deserved privacy. Others accused them of orchestrating the entire wedding as a publicity stunt. The phrase "scripted love" began trending across Weibo and TikTok. Through it all, neither Zhao Lusi nor Wu Lei spoke. They withdrew from public life completely, canceling interviews and halting productions. A close associate told Hidden Korea, they were exhausted. They didn't want to defend themselves anymore. They just wanted peace. But peace, like love, has a cost. Weeks later, Wu Lei was spotted at Beijing Capital Airport, alone. When asked by reporters if the rumors of their split were true, he smiled bitterly and said, "A fairy tale isn't broken just because it ends differently." That one sentence exploded across the internet. Ends differently, what did he mean? Was the marriage annulled? Were they separated already? For the first time, the fairy tale had turned into a mystery. Sources revealed that Zhao Lusi had moved to Shanghai shortly after the scandal broke, choosing to focus on her family and health. Wu Lei, on the other hand, traveled abroad for a film project he had postponed for months. Despite being apart, those closest to them insisted there was no animosity, only distance. "They still speak every day," one insider said. "But sometimes love needs silence more than noise." Weeks turned into months. The public interest only grew. Every sighting, every social media post, every cryptic caption was dissected. And, without warning, a news statement appeared, not from their agencies, but signed by the couple themselves. Story isn't ending. It's just becoming ours again. We shared it once, now we're keeping it. That single post marked the end of their public chapter. They disappeared completely from the spotlight. No new roles. No endorsements. Just silence. But sometimes, silence tells the most powerful story of all. In early 2025, Hidden Korea tracked down one of the wedding photographers, the only professional allowed at the ceremony. He had been forbidden to release any images. Yet he shared one unseen photo with us. It showed the couple in the final moment of the night, standing beneath a glass dome. Zhao Lusi barefoot, Wu Lei holding her veil. Their faces lit only by candlelight. No cameras. No guests, just two people staring at each other with quiet exhaustion and love. The photographer said softly. They weren't pretending. They just didn't know how to stop performing. That image, raw, imperfect, full, became the real story. Not the lavish wedding, not the rumors, but the fragile humanity that hid beneath it all. And maybe that was the truth behind the fairy tale all along, that love, when stripped of its glamour, not about perfection, but survival. Months later, rumors surfaced again, that the two had reconciled in private. That they were living quietly in Europe, far from the blinding lights of Beijing. Their agencies refused to confirm or deny. But fans noticed subtle signs. Matching bracelets reappeared. A song lyric posted by Wu Lei that mirrored a line Zhao Lusi once said in an interview, "You are the quiet after my storm." Perhaps the wedding wasn't the end. Perhaps it was just a transformation, from public spectacle to private devotion. Because the truth that left the world in awe wasn't their marriage. The secret that preceded it. It was the fact that in an industry built on illusion, Zhao Lusi and Wu Lei had chosen something painfully real, the right to love freely, to hurt quietly, to live truthfully. And while the rest of the world continued to speculate, they disappeared into the one thing they'd been searching for all along, peace. Their fairy tale didn't end under the lights. It ended where all great love stories do, in the silence after the applause. Where the world stops watching, and two hearts keep beating just the same. And so, the story of Zhao Lusi and Wu Lei comes to rest, not with a grand finale, but with a quiet truth. What began as whispers of romance turned into a secret wedding, a scandal, and finally, a symbol of courage. They lived a love story written not for cameras or headlines, for themselves, fragile, imperfect, and real. In an age where every heartbeat is captured and every emotion becomes content, they dared to reclaim what was theirs: privacy, peace, and authenticity. Silence was not an ending, it was a choice. Taught the world that love doesn't need witnesses to be true. Sometimes the most beautiful fairy tales are the ones the world never fully sees. Because beyond the luxury, beyond the rumors, were just two people standing beneath a sky full of lights, holding on to each other as if the world around them didn't exist. And maybe that's the only moment that ever truly mattered. When history remembers them, it won't be for the grandeur of their wedding or the noise that followed, but for their quiet defiance, their willingness to live honestly, the tenderness that survived it all. Their story wasn't perfect, but it was real. And in a world obsessed with illusion, that made it unforgettable. Hidden Korea, we tell stories that begin where the cameras stop, stories about courage, vulnerability, and the fragile beauty behind fame. Zhao Lusi and Wu Lei's journey reminds us that love, when stripped of its spectacle, still has the power to move the world. To all our viewers and readers, thank you for joining us once again. For listening with open hearts, believing that behind every spotlight, there is a story worth feeling. This has been Hidden Korea, where fairy tales end, and truth begins.